Kata for grinding up broken amulets and recycling into Muan Sarn Sacred Powders. This can be used also for amulets which are not broken, which is often a method used for making sacred powders and editions of amulets, which will include ancient amulets from their lineage masters of that temple or not, or other lineage masters, and which perform Nibbana Sutra or the Nibbana Sutra, which is a very long sutra, and is not, if the mind is capable of empowerment, is not necessarily indispensable. And therefore, for one who can focus and concentrate and is already well practiced in this and can invoke rapturous states of concentrative, contemplative, meditative, focused mind or absorption, then the following kata will be very useful for contemplative destruction of the broken or unbroken sacred amulets. This can be seen to be used also as a method of non-clinging and of contemplation of the transience and impermanence of all forms of the existential condition, and both animate and inanimate forms. Is seen to be performed in the Mahayana sand mandala painting, which is first created as a very beautiful mandala using sand in different colors and can be very large and complex and take a very long time to create. And upon its completion is then, of course, completely destroyed and annihilated and wiped out into nothingness, and is used as a method of contemplating impermanence even of the most beautiful dhammas or phenomena. And so when in Thai Buddha magic you are making sacred powders by destroying or grinding already assumed forms or amulets, images, back down into an essentially formless state, into powder, or what would appear to our eyes to be formless after seeing a Buddha image be ground into powder, then it loses its form and is returns to its original source. And so, although the Mahayana and Vajrayana methods are different to the Theravada methods, or as some people like to say, and some people believe is insulting, which is ridiculous because the Buddha did not teach us to feel insulted about concepts like that. But anyway, that's all academic. Hinayana, some people call Theravada Hinayana, the small vehicle, and Mahayana is the great vehicle, and the Vajrayana is the diamond vehicle, which is the adamantine vehicle, impermeable, and supposedly, assumedly, the most rapid path to enlightenment, and also the most dangerous knife edge one can walk upon, and therefore is always in need of protector, spiritual protector, and initiation of that protector. I won't go more into that. That is Mahayana, which was my first initiation into Buddhism. Maybe one day I shall expand upon that, but stay with Theravada and Thai Buddhism for now, and Vipassana, and Buddha magic. So in Buddha magic, according to the Tamra which I am creating, this is not a preservation kata, this is one which I have formulated myself, and which works very well for me, but which is formulated aligned with Pali and the ancient Pali, and with the thought, with the Vipassana orientated thought. And so when you are grinding the powders with pestle and mortar, you can, if you are able to attain rapture, mind rapture, and absorption, and receive insights through what you are chanting, through your understanding of it, as you are grinding the image back into its formless state and down into sacred powder, then you can use the following kata, which I will then explain. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. One more time. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. One more time. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. And so, analysis or synopsis. Rupang, rupa, form. This means the assumed form or shape, which in the case of, let's say, a pratsomdet would be a sacred powder Buddha image. And so as you break it down, you chant Rupang, assumed form, shape. And as it's breaking down, you chant Sunyang, which means zero, cessation, dissolution, nothingness, emptiness, void. Sunyata, emptiness, reduced to nothing. Anichang, anicca, impermanence, and all that is transient. And you contemplate how impermanent even this Buddha image is and was and is already coming to cessation. One can take it further and also see its continuation through transition and transience and transformation, but that form is not permanent. But that is a deeper Dhamma which you can contemplate if you are ready when you are chanting this particular part of the stanza. The next word is Nippanang, which means enters into the end of incessant action, which is of course fidgety and restless, and means the constant presence of dissatisfactory states which are transient, such as your moods or body pains or mental states of peacefulness or stressfulness and anger and sadness and loneliness and desire and so on. It's like a flickering candle flame that never stops, and it is incessant restlessness, and that is the human condition, and it is part of the dukkha, the dissatisfactory state, or the existential state, the dissatisfactoriness which is ever present, be it in more noticeable or less noticeable measure, but it is always there, be it a slight ache in your back or a slight dissatisfaction in your mood. It's always present. And so Nippanang means entering into the end of this fidgety, incessant action and the end of the constant presence of dissatisfactory, transient states. And with Nippanang, Nibbana enters into peace, which is the meaning of the word Nippan or Nibbana, and becomes one once again with everything else. So the Buddha image has returned back into emptiness and is without form and has melted back into the powder, back into its original source. Nat tukhang, not dukkha, or not suffering or dissatisfactory in the state of existential separateness. This means not dukkha, not the incessant action of a living being who is believing him or herself to have an inherent self or a soul or an identity which is unchanging, because such does not exist. Nat tukhang means not dukkha, not in the state of dissatisfactory, limited transience anymore. It has left this realm of having to be a fixed image of something, or having to be a certain person, or having to be limited to something that cannot stay the same and is ever changing, getting well and ill and older and feeling happy and sad, and just like a tireless candle flame, never knows any respite to sit down and just stop and stop. And that is what the Buddha did. He stopped and Nibbana is the end of that restlessness. Stop. And so Natukang, after Nippanang, we say Natukang because after the image has returned to Nibbana and to its source, there is no more suffering. It has left such impermanent transient states and is one with the source and is therefore without suffering. Natukang. And then the last phrase, which is anatta, which means without an identity or a name, means without self. Buddhists like to call it and confuse themselves by arguing about it. Non-self, anatta. This means without an identity or a name that is inherently part of that thing, and it is descriptive of some quality or unchanging facet or quality that can be said, this is the self. A table has this quality that makes it tableness. Well, you can say it's made of wood. Well, that's not necessary. You can have a plastic table. Or it has to have 4 legs. Well, you can have a 5-legged table, and so on. And so there is nothing that you can say is definitely, eternally an essential quality that makes this descriptive of this person or that thing, and is therefore anatta, without identity or name, or true name that is permanent. If you smash the table into powder, it is no longer a table. Therefore, table is anatta. It doesn't really have a name. The thing we call table is anatta. The word table is a conditioned thing. The thing is not a table. It is for a short time and for certain beings a table, but it is not a table for a fly, and it was not a table before it was created into the shape of a table, and after it has ceased to be a table, the energy and the molecules will continue to exist, but it will no longer be a table. And during the time, it is a table for some of us, for others, and for the rest of the universe. It is, was, and never will be a table. And so, even a table is anatta, without a true identity or name. And so, Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. Rupang, all forms, sunyang, dissolve to nothing, anichang, they are transient, nippanang, they return to the source, na tukhang, where they no longer suffer, anatta, without name or form. And this is a very nice, short heart mantra to repeat whilst grinding down sacred images back into sacred powders for remaking into more transient and eventually impermanent images. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. Rupang sunyang anichang nippanang na tukhang anatta. And so on as you are grinding. This is Ajahn Spencer for Buddha Magic TV, signing off.